Hello, and welcome to RCCT Talk, where we are introducing all the members of the RCCT family, and that includes our priests, our school leaders, and our members that lead our religious education. My name is Sean Poland, and I am the media director, and with me is my guest, Catherine McIntyre, the principal of St. Amelia's.
Hi. Like Sean said, my name is Catherine McIntyre. I typically go by Katie. It's Catherine when I'm in trouble with my mom. And I am the principal here at St. Amelia School. I've been here for the last 2.5 years, blessed to be named principal in January of 2021, I believe. I have to go back and check that.
What a time to become principal.
Yes.
I mean, with all of the COVID protocols that were going on at the time, it had to be immensely intimidating.
Yes. Thankfully, prior to my arrival at St. Amelia, I had experience as an assistant principal at St. Gregory the Great.
Oh, I didn't realize you were.
Yes.
Okay.
So when schools reopened under COVID protocols, we were blessed enough to be in school 5 days a week in all Catholic schools. And so I had great experience as an assistant principal learning the ropes of what it would be like to reopen a school under these COVID protocols. So when I came here, I was familiar with dealing with the different sides of the mask debate and all of the COVID testing and isolation and things that were happening. And thankfully enough, I was here as principal when the mask mandate was lifted. It was Ash Wednesday. It was a wonderful time.
And didn't it feel so much better? I being a teacher myself and a music teacher of all things, the amount of angst trying to sit there and I used to say, and you can correct me or add on to it, but there was always this it was permeating of, you just felt blah. There was you couldn't feel normal and get to know people.
Yeah.
And I'm just so grateful that you got to get them through the hard part.
Yes.
I don't know if anything will ever be as hard as that.
No, I don't think so. It was definitely a challenging time to be an administrator. And again, I'm thankful for the experience as an assistant principal. And then the blessing of being principal when the mask mandate was lifted, and just the joy on those kids' faces that first Wednesday mass together was great.
So you had said you were a principal before at St. Greg, assistant principal. Pardon me. What kind of brought you to administration? Because my grandmother was an administrator, and she always says it's not for the faint of heart in any way, shape, or form. So what made you decide that this is the crazy direction you wanted to go in?
I actually had no desire to go in that crazy direction whatsoever. When I started as a teacher, I taught 3 years of middle school and 3 years of high school, all in a public school setting.
Oh, wow, really?
Yes, all of my administrative experience has been in Catholic schools. But I had a principal my very first year when it ended said, I'd like you to be the department chair for the social studies department next year. I think you've got great leadership potential.
Oh my gosh, you were a social I love social studies.
Yes.
If I weren't doing music, I would have been a social studies teacher.
Yes.
I love social studies. That's wonderful.
So I think she saw something in me that I didn't really recognize in myself. And she really pushed me. You know, I said, Michelle, no, I'm young. I don't know if I want to take on this role. And she really pushed me to do that. And then after that, I enrolled in my administrative program at the University of Virginia and finished out my teaching career. Took some time off to raise my 4 children. And then when I was ready to jump back in, I started back here in the diocese as a director of advancement at St. Peter and Paul in Williamsville.
Oh, okay.
And then went to St. Greg's and ended up here at Amelia's.
And how long were you at St. Greg's?
I was at St. Greg's for about 15 months.
Okay. Wow, so quite quick. That's really awesome.
Yes.
So, at what ages are your children?
I have an 11-year-old daughter named Quinn.
Oh, awesome.
I have a 9-year-old daughter named Lila. I have a 7-year-old son named Declan, and then a 4-year-old daughter named Vera. And I'm blessed to have them all here with me at St. Amelia every day.
How nice is that it's so family oriented. I mean, it's so wonderful. And all of those good Irish names, too.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
I appreciate
Great
that.
Irish names, yes.
So, I mean, with a last name like McIntyre,
Yes.
you got to.
Absolutely,
You got to.
absolutely.
So what has been your greatest joy being a principal? Because obviously there's a lot of struggles, and sometimes it's hard to, I think, sometimes feel that inspiration, because sometimes you can get so in the weeds, because we have certain struggles as a private school. We don't have anywhere near the amount of money that a public school. Finding teachers is always a difficult struggle, but there's still joy, I think, that gets you through it. So what is that joy that helps you come in with this bright energy to Amelia's?
Yeah, that's a great question, and absolutely, we talk about this a lot here in the building and across the diocese as principals. You know, none of us can understand and appreciate what it's like to be a principal until you get into the role and you realize, like, sometimes you're just buried under all of this just, you know, nonsense that you didn't think was part of the role, and eventually it is part of the role. But I think for me, what inspires me are those moments where I get to connect with, particularly with the students. I have a nickname over here. It's Mrs. Mac and Cheese.
That's wonderful.
So
That's
I love my
great.
greetings of Mrs. Mac and Cheese. I've got all my little like mac and cheese gifts that I've been given.
Oh, that's awesome.
There's a box of gummies on my desk that are mac and cheese.
Oh, that's awesome. Here, just so
Yes.
people can see.
Yes, hold those up.
There they are. That's
so I think
wonderful.
just connecting and bonding with students in that way. You know, I just stepped out of my office a minute ago before we started this interview, and kids in after school just, you know, jumped up from their reading to give me a hug. And
she's not exaggerating with this. They actually did, because she offered to have this interview over in the library, and they really did. Those kids, you know, that's the thing that makes me so excited, because my entire life with that similar thing, I didn't go for education. I wasn't going to be a teacher, but I've been fortunate to have a wonderful music career. I've been fortunate to do all of this. There is nothing that I am more proud of than being able to say I'm an educator. That is the thing that in the morning gets me up, and just seeing how those kids just jumped up right away to go and give you a hug. It's like, that warmed my heart, and I can only imagine what it did for you.
Absolutely. And going back to what you said about COVID, you know, I'm sure you experienced this as a teacher. I think COVID really impacted our lives as educators, not only separating work and home, but also I feel a lot of times that the dignity of the position as educators was really impacted by COVID. And I think it's a struggle sometimes for people to understand, if you're not an educator, what goes into it. And I get frustrated sometimes that there's not the level of respect that there used to be for the teaching position.
Oh, yeah.
So that's something as an administrator that I try really hard to uphold in this community, that people understand that our teachers, without them, we wouldn't be this community that we are.
It is a very, very tough thing, and I think part of it was you had the moments at the beginning where everyone, and I'm sure you remember the moments of, we just love our teachers, we'll give them anything that they want. But then it did become harder, because you saw it, and we, I think, as teachers, got so tired. Because I'll tell you, from my side, because I did have to teach online with all of it, I was able to stay upbeat and positive till about May that year with the distance learning. And oh my gosh, I never wanted to talk to another kid on Zoom ever. And we couldn't sing for the longest time either. So it was playing handbells, and if I never heard another bell again for a time, and everything had to be, it was hard. And when you're looking at kids, they need the facial expressions to communicate. And I'll always say I understood both sides of the debate for it, because you wanted to be safe, but you also, how do you look at a 4-year-old that wants to come up and give you a hug and say, oh, you can't? I mean, how do you do that?
Absolutely.
But I think coming back to it, so let me ask you, what is the thing that you feel that Amelia's does that is special to you, that makes you say, this is my school, I am so proud of it, and I care so much?
That's a great question. I think for me, it's the vision that the leadership team has here. And it's not just myself. It's my special ed director, Elizabeth Finnegan, and my assistant principal, Betsy Eden. And really the community as a whole, the teachers that have bought into this idea that we want to have an inclusive and a diverse population. We are one of only 2 schools in the diocese with a dedicated director of special education. So I strongly believe that children with disabilities should have access to Catholic schools, and that they deserve the same amount of services that our public school counterparts can offer.
That's an amazing and what an important thing, because so often, I hate saying this, but it is something that I've heard at Catholic schools, and which is why I so very much find that refreshing, is, oh, but we don't want you. Or you might lower our scores, or you might do, what a just beautiful testament to hear that.
Yes. We want to have a very inclusive environment. And obviously, if there's families that we can't serve, we're transparent about that. We're not a public school, but we want to at least create as much of a welcoming environment as we can for our students with disabilities. And the diversity part of that as well. I mean, we'd love to have a diverse population here at St. Amelia's, and we're working towards that goal for just a well-rounded, wonderful, welcoming community.
Well, and one of the things that I always tell my students, and it makes me excited because I kind of feel we have a similar vision, in that I always say, my biggest goal for you is to learn how to view everyone else as a human being. My biggest goal is for you to learn how to be a good person here. Yes, I hope you learn math. But you'll eventually be able to get the skills that are life skills in math later. At a young age, I want you to be able to learn, I can see this person. One of the greatest, it was a pre-K teacher. We were asked once in a professional development, and you can always do this because I always thought this was a great idea. We were asked if you had to craft an epitaph for a teacher, what would it be? And our preschool teacher said, she saw me. And I thought that was one of the most powerful statements. And that's what we want to do as educators, I think, is to see everybody. And that vision that you have is fantastic to hear. And that kind of goes into what my last question was going to be, which was the vision for the future. Really that idea.
There's really that, and blending that with, incorporating in our mission statement, which is, instilling in students the spirit of Jesus Christ, just like you mentioned. Like, he saw everybody. Father Mike did our school mass today, and he talked about how Jesus sat with tax collectors, and, he sat with prostitutes, and he welcomed all. And that's really the community that we want to foster here. Especially in a time like today, it's not an easy time to be a child growing up with access to social media and, technology at their fingertips. So it's something that, we hold near and dear here, is that that caring environment that, I may not like you, you may not be my best friend, but I see you and I respect you.
Exactly.
So we're going to keep working towards that goal.
And what just absolutely beautiful. And thank you so much. And thank you guys for coming and listening to us. We hope to do this with every single one of our people who is in charge of leading this community, because one of the best parts, whether you were a person who was rah-rah about the family of parishes or somebody who is much more tentative about it, is we get to be together and we get to find these ideas and these commonalities as we help and support each other. So
we get to see each other.
Exactly. It's just wonderful. And I've heard so much about you, Katie, but I've never gotten to actually meet you. So this has been wonderful, and we hope you enjoyed it too. And if you're looking for more information about St. Amelia's, please check out the website. It's a wonderful place to be. And we hope that if you have any questions, reach out.
Thank you.